From transport workhorses to flying tanks, Soviet helicopters revolutionized rotary-wing warfare. These machines didn't just move troops, they became gunships, tank hunters, and airborne fortresses that redefined the battlefield. Every design pushed the boundaries of what helicopters could do, from the frozen Arctic to the mountains of Afghanistan. This is every Soviet helicopter of the Cold War. Let's begin with the early pioneers, MiL-Mi-1, NATO reporting name Hare, the Soviet Union's first mass-produced helicopter. Introduced in 1950, this light utility design proved that Soviet engineers could master rotary-wing technology. It served as a trainer, medevac platform, and light transport across the Warsaw Pact. Over 2,700 were built before production ended, establishing MiL as the dominant helicopter design bureau. MiL-Mi-4, the Hound, the workhorse that built Soviet helicopter doctrine. This medium transport helicopter, first flying in 1952, was essentially the Soviet answer to the American Sikorsky H-19. It could carry 14 troops or substantial cargo, transforming how the Soviet military thought about vertical mobility. More than 3,500 were produced, serving in over 30 countries. It saw extensive combat in conflicts from Algeria to Vietnam to Africa. Yakovlev Yak-24, the Horse, the tandem rotor giant that never quite succeeded. Introduced in 1955, this unusual design featured fore and aft rotors like the American CH-47 Chinook. It could transport 40 troops or significant cargo loads. Despite its impressive capacity, mechanical complexity and reliability issues limited production to just 40 units. It was withdrawn from service by 1966, a rare Soviet helicopter failure. Moving on to the transport legends. MiL-Mi-6, the Hook, the heavy lift champion that dominated its era. When it entered service in 1959, this massive helicopter was the world's largest, capable of carrying 65 troops or 12 tons of cargo. Its turbine engines and sophisticated rotor system set new standards for Soviet aviation. It established speed records that stood for years. Over 860 were built, serving from Siberia to Africa. MiL-Mi-8, the Hip, the most produced helicopter in aviation history. First flying in 1961, this twin-turbine medium transport became the Soviet Union's aerial workhorse. It could carry 24 troops, serve as a gunship, perform medevac duties, or haul cargo. True versatility in one airframe. More than 17,000 have been built across all variants. It remains in production today, over 60 years later, flying in more than 80 countries worldwide. MiL-Mi-10, the Hark, the flying crane with landing gear taller than a man. Developed from the Mi-6 in 1960, this specialized transport featured extraordinarily long landing legs that allowed it to straddle cargo containers. It could lift external loads up to 15 tons suspended beneath its fuselage. Only 55 were built due to its specialized nature. It proved invaluable for construction projects and transporting oversized equipment. Next up, the attack helicopters. MiL-Mi-24, the Hind, the flying tank that struck fear across battlefields. Introduced in 1972, this revolutionary design combined troop transport with devastating firepower. No Western helicopter attempted both. It carried 8 troops while mounting anti-tank missiles, rocket pods, and a nose-mounted cannon. Afghan Mujahideen fighters called it the Devil's Chariot. Its armored cockpit could withstand heavy machine gun fire. Over 2,300 were built, becoming the most recognizable Soviet helicopter worldwide. Kamov Ka-25, the Hormone, the naval twin-rotor submarine hunter. First flying in 1961, this compact design used Kamov's signature coaxial counter-rotating rotors, eliminating the tail rotor entirely. This configuration gave it a small footprint, perfect for ship operations. It served as the primary Soviet anti-submarine warfare helicopter throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Its sophisticated sensors could detect submarines and coordinate attacks with surface vessels. Kamov Ka-27, the Helix, the improved naval hunter that replaced its predecessor. Entering service in 1982, this updated design featured more powerful engines and advanced avionics. The The coaxial rotor system provided exceptional maneuverability and stability in maritime conditions. It could operate in severe weather that grounded conventional helicopters. Variants included anti-submarine, transport, and search and rescue versions. It remains in Russian naval service today. Continuing with specialized designs, MiL Mi-2, the hoplite, the light twin that Poland made famous. Though designed in the Soviet Union in 1961, all production occurred in Poland at PZL Świdnik. This small helicopter served as a trainer, light transport, and utility platform across Eastern Europe. Its twin-engine configuration provided safety margins that single-engine designs lacked. Over 5,400 were manufactured, making it one of the most successful light helicopters of the era. MiL Mi-12, the Homer, the side-by-side giant that broke all records. First flying in 1968, this experimental heavy lifter mounted two Mi-6 rotor systems on outrigger pods. It set an absolute helicopter lift record by carrying over 40 tons to altitude, a record that still stands today. Despite its incredible capability, only 2 prototypes were built. The Soviet military chose to develop the simpler Mi-26 instead. MiL Mi-14, the Haze, the amphibious submarine hunter derived from the Mi-8. Introduced in 1973, this naval variant featured a watertight boat hull, allowing water landings. It served as the shore-based complement to the Ka-25, patrolling coastal waters for NATO submarines. Search radar and sonobuoys enabled it to detect submerged threats. Over 270 were built before production ended in the mid-1980s. Kamov Ka-26, the Hoodlum, the versatile light twin with interchangeable pods. Entering service in 1969, this agricultural and utility helicopter featured Kamov's coaxial rotors in a compact package. Its modular design allowed operators to swap mission pods, passenger cabin, cargo platform, chemical sprayer, or medevac unit. Over 850 were produced, serving primarily in civilian roles. It proved particularly successful in agricultural applications across the Soviet Union. Let's look at the late Cold War innovations. MiL Mi-26, the Halo, the world's largest helicopter ever to enter production. First flying in 1977, this colossal machine could carry 20 tons internally, or lift even more as an external load. Its 8-blade rotor was the most powerful ever fitted to a helicopter. It could transport an entire infantry fighting vehicle or evacuate over 80 wounded soldiers. Only the Soviet Union possessed the industrial capability to produce such a monster. More than 300 have been built, and it remains unmatched in lifting capacity. MiL Mi-28, the Havoc, the dedicated attack helicopter that came late to the Cold War. Development began in 1980 as a response to the American AH-64 Apache. Unlike the Mi-24, this design only focused on combat, no troop transport capability. Tandem seating, heavy armor, and devastating firepower defined its purpose. It mounted anti-tank missiles, rockets, and a chin-mounted cannon. Production began just as the Cold War ended, with initial units entering service in the early 1990s. Kamov Ka-29, the Helix B, the naval assault transport variant. Developed from the Ka-27 in 1984, this version traded anti-submarine equipment for troop capacity. It could carry 16 fully equipped Marines for ship-to-shore operations. Side-mounted weapon pods provided fire support during insertions. The compact coaxial design made it ideal for operations from cramped naval vessels. It served with Soviet naval infantry throughout the late Cold War. Kamov Ka-50, the Hokum, the revolutionary single-seat attack helicopter. First flying in 1982, this radical design eliminated the second crew member entirely, using advanced automation instead. Its coaxial rotors provided exceptional agility, unmatched by conventional tail rotor designs. An ejection seat, unprecedented in helicopters, gave the pilot an escape option. Equipped with anti-tank missiles and a side-mounted cannon, it represented the cutting edge of Soviet attack helicopter technology. Limited production began as the Cold War concluded. Moving to reconnaissance platforms, MiL Mi-9, the Airborne Command Post. This specialized variant of the Mi-8 carried extensive communications equipment for coordinating battlefield operations. Introduced in the 1970s, external antennas and internal radio suites allowed commanders to direct forces from the air. It served at division and army-level headquarters throughout the Soviet military. The design prioritized communications range over any other capability. MIL-Mi-22, the signals intelligence platform. This electronic warfare variant based on the Mi-14 mounted specialized equipment for naval operations. It could detect enemy radar emissions and disrupt NATO communications. Only small numbers were produced due to the classified nature of its systems. It operated primarily over the Baltic and Black Seas. Next on the list, the training helicopters. MIL-Mi-34, the Hermit. The light training helicopter developed late in the Cold War. First flying in 1986, this small two-seat design was intended to modernize Soviet helicopter training. Its modern avionics and simple handling made it ideal for student pilots. However, the collapse of the Soviet Union severely limited production. Only a handful entered service before funding evaporated. Continuing with utility variants, Kamov Ka-126, the improved agricultural helicopter. Introduced in 1988, this updated version of the Ka-26 featured more powerful engines and modern avionics. Its modular pod system remained, maintaining the versatility of its predecessor. Production began just as the Soviet economy collapsed, limiting its deployment. It represented the final Kamov light helicopter of the Cold War era. MIL-Mi-17, the upgraded transport. Developed in the late 1970s, this Mi-8 variant featured more powerful engines mounted on the left side of the fuselage. The relocated engines improved performance in hot and high conditions. Lessons learned from Afghanistan. It became the standard Soviet transport helicopter by the mid-1980s. Thousands were exported, and production continues today in modified forms. Let's look at the experimental designs. MIL-Mi-30, the never-built VTOL concept. Designed in the 1980s, this ambitious project aimed to create a tilt-rotor aircraft similar to the American V-22 Osprey. It would combine helicopter vertical takeoff with airplane cruise speeds. The collapse of the Soviet Union killed the program before prototypes flew. Only design studies and models survived. Kamov Ka-32, the civilian export version. Based on the Ka-27 naval helicopter, this variant removed military equipment for commercial operations. It entered service in 1985, targeting export markets and Soviet civilian agencies. The coaxial design excelled in confined areas and mountainous terrain. It found success in firefighting, logging, and construction applications worldwide. Final category, the gunship variants. Mi-24P, the cannon-armed Hind F. Introduced in 1981, this version mounted a fixed twin-barrel GSH-30K cannon on the starboard side. The 30mm weapon delivered devastating firepower against ground targets. Afghan experience showed that fixed guns were more effective than turret-mounted weapons. It became the preferred ground attack variant in the final Cold War years. Mi-24V, the anti-tank Hind E. This variant, entering service in 1976, featured upgraded AT-6 spiral anti-tank guided missiles. Each missile could destroy modern Western tanks at ranges beyond 4 kilometers. The nose-mounted machine gun turret provided suppressive fire. Combat in Afghanistan proved its lethality, though rebels learned to fear its rocket pods even more. Mi-8 MTV, the gunship transport. Developed in the early 1980s, this heavily armed variant could mount rockets, gun pods, and anti-tank missiles while still carrying troops. Afghan combat demanded helicopters that could fight their way into and out of landing zones. Its combination of firepower and transport capacity made it invaluable. Special Forces units particularly appreciated its versatility. From early utility platforms to devastating gunships, from naval hunters to heavy-lift giants, these Soviet helicopters defined Cold War rotary aviation. Each design represented Soviet engineering philosophy, rugged, simple, and brutally effective. They served on every continent, in every climate, proving their worth from Arctic bases to desert battlefields. Which one surprised you most? Let me know in the comments below.